Hey guys, what's going on? This is Jay Morrow. Just cast another replay today. I got one between actually StarCraftII and a new star, Sting. I've actually not had too much of a chance to see Sting play. I think I've seen him play once or twice. Definitely had a lot of opportunity to watch Ace play. So I'm curious to see. I'm sorry this is on Metropolis. I'm sorry. I just love this map. I think it's so awesome to add it to the map pool. I really enjoy games on it for the most part, especially watching two Koreans play on it. Of course, as you can see, they are Korean. They are speaking a different language. So we're gonna go jump into this game. So spawning on the, I guess, western portion of the map, if you want to turn it a bit, is StarCraftII as our red Protoss, and then spawning in the northern central area, we do have new star Sting as our blue Terran. So it looks like actually dropping, of course, supply depot at the top of the ramp. Of course, I've gone over this a couple times. I really don't understand the variation between walling and not walling. I guess if I watch enough games, I'll really understand it. Looks like we had a slight pause for a second, but it looks like these two players are going to go at it now. And so we do actually have the first pylon done. We should see a gateway dropped here on the same supply. He may end up doing a Nexus first. We do have 3 probes queued up, which usually means you want to see an early Nexus, especially from Protoss. They're, Terran do it as well if they want to do a command center first. And it looks like we actually do have the barracks coming down from Sting. So I'm actually kind of curious to see what his play is, especially in the TVP matchup. Of course, a lot of people are complaining about it right now, saying since the Ghost nerf, since this and that, Terran's having a lot of issues with Protoss, especially in late game when they get to Storms and Colossi and etc. But actually, I was watching Thorzane talk, and he was saying how confident he is in the matchup, and that he actually enjoys it. It's his favorite matchup right now, even with all the issues. So if Thorzane can do it, it's not saying everybody can do it, but especially a player. I mean, I've heard Sting is really good, so I'm assuming that he'll be able to do it as well. So Sting, of course, he's actually not going to wall off yet. He does not have that second SCV or the second supply depot down. So Ace will get the full scout at this point, and we do actually have gate, gas, and second pylon. So it looks like we are going to see one base play to start. Of course, Ace is going to count the gas missing here. He goes, okay, my opponent got it around this timing. So we do have the first Marine coming out. It looks like he actually is going to get walled in. So he is going to end up losing this probe unless Sting really messes up and somehow lets his opponent out. But at this point, we actually do have a cyber core coming down, so we might see a 17 expand. We also might see a robotics bay go down shortly. That's really the only thing you can do in most situations is drop that robotics bay, because if he ends up going cloak banshee off 2 gas and you don't have the robotics bay, that can actually lose you the game instantly. So he's doing a good job swinging his probe pretty wide, so this Marine is going to have to walk a long distance. Is he going to scout the factory, though? That is going to be really important. It looks like getting chased into the corner, does not see the tech lab, knows that his opponent got that gas early, so he's got to assume that it's going to be a factory, which could lead up to the Banshee. So we should see a second gas geyser dropped in just a second here, and then we should see the robotics facility drop as well. So it looks like at this moment the factory is about halfway done. Another SCVS started at this point. So both players are just kind of doing one base build right now, not really showing too much yet. Of course, Sting has shown the factory, so we might see a second gas come down here. It just might be Banshees without cloak, and it looks like we have a reactor coming down. So this might be a tank timing with Marines. I'm not sure exactly what he will do with it yet. And actually, Ace dropping a Nexus at this point. The SCV has not seen it. Yes, it has not seen it. The SCV is going to hide down here. Very smart move. Of course, you want to leave it down here just to, leave it down here to scout. Having it down here, there's nothing wrong with leaving it outside your base. And it looks like he is actually going to scout at this time. He must know the timings pretty darn well to know when his opponent should drop his Nexus or if he's going to drop some sort of tech. And he does, in fact, see it. So at this point, Sting knows what his opponent is doing, and we actually have a Hellion coming out. We are actually seeing, do we see a second Hellion come out? We do have a starport as well, so this might be a Hellion Marine medevac timing. I've actually seen this a little bit more recently, especially from the Korean players. It's definitely worth it. Essentially what he'll do now is he'll push the front with the Hellions and then drop the back with the Marines. And it does a lot of damage, it can, but you can also lose those Hellions for nothing and end up losing the game. So starport is now done. We should see a medevac start. The next Hellion has already started. We have another Hellion queued up, and yes, we do have the medevac. So this is going to be, a drop play with the Hellions in the front, and it looks like he might get the SCV. No, it looks like the Stalker is chasing it down, is slightly faster, and ends up taking it out. Beautiful. So we do have a pylon being warped from Ace at his opponent's third, and he does have the probe at the natural as well. So if he actually is able to keep this over here, that'd be great, because he could warp in units later in the game and try and do some harassment. Of course, Ace comfortably on 2 base at this point, getting a lot of probes queued up, and worker research is now done, so he's feeling a little bit more comfortable. The medevac is now done, and he's going to drop those 3 Hellions in his opponent's base while he runs the Marines around. Of course, Ace could have seen this just based on what he's seen from his opponent, and he is going to expand behind this. I am definitely going to steal this build. This is fascinating. I really like this build, and so far I've actually seen it done about 3 or 4 times, and I gotta say I really like the way Sting's doing it. He's expanding right behind it. A lot of players I saw were transitioning into Banshees or trying to do even further one base plays, or even going 1-1-1, which is very all-in-esque, and it looks like he's actually going to drop the main with the Hellions, and of course the Hellions are going to get scared off by these Stalkers, but what does Ace have at his natural? And it looks like he's going to use the probes to try and Hellions away. And at this point, he actually does scare off the drop. He might actually lose the medevac, but the Marines are now moving up into the natural. They're going to clean up a ton of these probes, losing a ton of probes. Let's check the probe count, and it looks like they're actually at 10 probe kills. That's huge right now, and we do have a force field available. The medevac does go down. If he does run up this ramp, he could get force fielded back, but actually does not have enough energy for that at this point, and so Ace in a little bit of trouble right now. We take a look at the probe count. He's actually behind at this point. He would normally be ahead by a couple of probes, but now he's behind. So great job by Sting, doing a great amount of damage, and now he's able to pull back and go, you know what? You got your second base before me. That's fine. I'm going to drop 2 command centers and double expand at this point. Excuse me. We do have the tech lab coming down from the factory, so we will see him transition into the tank play. We do have extra 2 barracks coming down, so we'll probably see some tech labs thrown down. And it actually looks like he's going to switch. Yep, he's going to switch them around. He's going to try and give the barracks to the tech labs to get the combat shields, possibly even some marauders, and get Stim started immediately. We do have 2 Hellions running into the natural, but there are 2 stalkers and a sentry here. He may be able to kill his sentry before he does die, but it looks like the Hellions are going to get cleaned up. And he's just going to try to use them to scout the main, but in fact, he does get force fielded out, and now he's forced to try and poke the natural. At this point, the stalkers will clean the rest of this up, actually getting a probe kill. So very nice move by Sting, and still losing the Hellion, and it looks like the Observer is going to scout the main, so he's going to go, okay, you're going to try and take 3 base, well, here's my response. We'll have to see what Ace is going to do here. He is actually building a reactor, so we're going to have reactored Hellions. A medevac still coming out, just one by one, no reactor, and we do have actually Stim started with Conch Shell. I've actually seen this before. I'm not sure who it was recently, but I actually watched another TVP where we did see some Hellions used in the mid-game, which helps clean up those Zealots. You know, having Blue Flame, having the Hellions does help you clean up the Zealots, especially in the late game when they start getting stronger and stronger, which is like a lot of people's assumption what the new Firebat type unit is going to be used in Heart of the Swarm. So we're going to see some new, this is really cool to see somebody experiment with, and he's actually just going to go straight into regular MM at the moment, actually MMM, and he's just going to fly the factory to his opponent's base, maybe landed at the third to deny him from taking that third, and now he has quite a Marine force. Let's take a look. We have 20 Marines, 2 Marauders, 1 Medevac, 34 SCVs to 42 probes, so Ace doing a good job of catching up with the probe count, definitely focusing primarily Chrono Boost on that, and he's actually getting a Forge. Do we have a Twilight Council? Yes, we do. So he's going to get +1, grind it out here, and then we'll get +2 followed right up, and looks like he's actually going to get another Observer out. Did he in fact lose his first one? No. So he does have that first Observer still alive. He really doesn't have too much AoE. It looks like he is getting charge and +1. If in fact Sting does get the Hellions, which he already lifted his factory, so I apologize, that is not correct. His Hellions really would have helped to get this early charge build. But it looks like he's going to go for heavy Marauder play, which of course does get countered by Zealots, in a good number, especially with early upgrades. We do have the Twilight Council dropped as well, so we will see some additional tech, dropping a ton of extra gateways, and +1 of course is on the way, so that +1 armor in TVP or PVT is very, very important. Moving across the map at the moment, Stim is just about done, about 30 seconds away. We do have +1, and looks like 2 additional tech labs coming down. Let me see what those are getting thrown out. Looks like a couple extra barracks. So this barracks count's getting pretty high. We have 4 down at the natural. We have 3 up in the main, so up to 7 off 2 base. Actually, excuse me, he does have that 3rd command center, and so the factory is now going to be scared out of the main at this point. And is he going to expand to his 3rd? He does have the money for it. He does have the pylon. Has he killed the rocks off? Yes. So it looks like Ace is going to take a 3rd before his opponent really lands that 3rd command center and a Ghost Academy already. So he did actually scout the Twilight Council, or excuse me, the Templar of Archives. So he is able to see that and starts Ghost production. Very smart move. Whenever you see that Templar of Archives, of course go to Ghost. Don't try and do something else or try and hit a timing. Just direct counter. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Having those Ghosts in the late game are still useful, even if he ends up not building the High Templar. So the 4 additional barracks have now started just going. A lot of Marauders. I've seen this a little bit more recently. Like I said with the Hellions, I guess the Hellions weren't right. But we do see a lot more Marauders coming out, and we do have an additional tech lab. So he's going to be producing about 5 or 6 Marauders at once. So he's going to be able to hit a pretty solid timing. He may go for 1-1, actually just 1, excuse me. Combat Shields is just about done. Conch Shell is done. And going back to Ace's base, has he started Storm? No. It looks like he does have a couple of High Templar out, maybe just building up their energy, saving up gas. But it looks like he does have the gas for it, so he might start Storm here, or maybe just get some Archons out. His 3rd Nexus is just now started, and Sting's command center is already landed. So he does have +1 finishing up, +1 armor. I thought I saw it on the Q tab, but I guess I was wrong about that. So the armory is coming down as well, so we are going to see some further upgrades from our Terran opponent, and Storm has begun from Ace at this point. So this is going to be a strong build from Ace. He's going to have +1 armor, +1 attack is just started as well, and we do have 4 High Templar on the map, just 4 at the moment. Yes, in fact, we do. We also do have a couple of Sentry. I'm sure their energy is pretty well built up at this point, because he hasn't really done too much with them. So that will allow him to get that Guardian Shield, maybe a couple of money force fields as well. And it looks like there was a drop attempted at the 3rd of Ace, but it was denied. I don't think it did too much damage. And now the Marines are going to get healed up. Of course, they don't have too many kills. Like I said, it doesn't look like it was too successful. Sting's third is now up and running. He does actually have two gas geysers going down, and we do have the first ghost coming out. Oh, those extra tech labs are really coming in handy at this point. Very smart transition from Sting, getting those early Marauders. Now transitioning into Ghost with the +1 actually done. +1 armor has begun, and of course, did he get the ever important upgrade from the Ghost Academy? I do apologize. I don't think I saw it go by, and no, he doesn't have it. So it looks like he's just going to get an early Ghost. Maybe got a couple of them go for a timing. His medevac count is at 3 at the moment. As far as Ace goes, his +1 attack is now finishing, so we should see +2 armor and +2 attack started at the same time. Of course, our Terran player does have +1 attack, and he's working on +1 armor as well. Looks like we do have a shuttle coming, or a shuttle out on the map from Ace. So it looks like he's very confident in his micro enough to, he's going to put him in the shuttle. He's going to risk losing that shuttle, but he's going to dodge the EMP. So this is very important, very, very high level micro. It can actually win you the game if you are able to dodge enough of those EMPs and land a couple of money force fields. Going back to Ace's base, he's still trying to deny drops. He's making sure that his opponent isn't doing anything too funky. And sorry about the knocking on my glasses if my microphone keeps falling. Two additional gateways are coming down. We do actually have a cannon coming down. It looks like it's actually going down. He's trying to deny, I guess, cloaked Ghost at this point. He's a little paranoid about that. I'm not sure if he saw the Ghost, but it looks like Sting is actually moving across the map, takes out that observer. But actually, Ace, one step ahead, actually has two additional observers on the map. It looks like the Zealot at the Watchtower is going to get taken out as well, but it looks like it is going to take off. And at this point, let's take a look at the army supplies. I mean, we do have a 40 difference, and it looks like that 40 supply from Sting is all army at this point. So he is up 40 supply. He does have 4 High Templar in the shuttle, and so it looks like Sting is going to move across the map at this point. I'm not sure how he produced such a high army. He did have a lot of facilities. Maybe he was overproducing, sacrificing SCVs, and it looks like his SCV count is pretty close to his opponent's at this point. Ace now getting +2/2, just about to finish up now. His robotics facility is on the way. Really needs to get up to that robotics bay and dropping money storms from above, doing quite a bit of damage. Not getting too many kills. Looks like 4 kills so far. Trying to do as much damage as possible. Doing a great job of scaring off Sting because his medevac count is so low. It's only at 5 right now with such a massive army that any damage he can do is wonderful. And actually dropping on the high ground, very smart move, getting a full storm off on all of Sting units, not even able to kill the High Templar off. And again, he's going to have to pull back. He's going to try and heal up, but with only 2 medevacs appearing right here, he's not able to heal it up quick enough, and Sting is going to have to retreat, getting another starport down and getting 2 additional tech labs, and a 4th base as well. It looks like he's actually building it at the 3rd, so this will probably turn into a planetary fortress, and it looks like Sting's trying to move across the map again. This money observer just sitting in wonderful positioning, actually dropping a scan up here. He might be able to take off these with the Ghost, and will we see feedback? No! Snipes take out the High Templar before that's possible. If he drops another scan, that would be beautiful, able to take out the rest of the High Templar. Oh, and it looks like he does get 1 feedback, finishing off one of the Ghosts, but now what's his High Templar count? All the way down to 5 at the moment. He does have a majority of them in the Warp Prism, and it looks like he is going to push this engagement, actually able to get a full storm off a majority of Sting's army, doing a great deal of damage. Now here come the Charge Flash, trying to get us around, but Sting doing a good job of microing, actually storming a majority of his units, but killing off the last Ghost is down to 34 energy, only with 1 snipe available, morphing an Archon during the combat, and it looks like he's actually going to try and drop and get a full storm, doing quite a bit of damage, but not exactly what he needs. Dropping his supply again, the Archon is going to get cleaned up here, and he really needs to get a couple of nice storms here. +3 attack has started from our Terran opponent, and +2 armor, and it looks like he might get a full surround here with the Zealots coming from the top and from the side, and it looks like the shuttle is flying in from the side. Here comes a huge storm, taking out a bunch of units, actually whiffing the second one, doing a lot of damage to his own units, doing a little bit of damage to the medevacs as well, and now he's going to get pushed back. The army supplies are much closer than before, all the way down to a 20 differential, and here come the rest of the storms, and a huge storm coming down. Thought he was going to move over that way, but it looks like all of the units from Sting are very, very low. If he picks off this shuttle, this could be huge, and it looks like, oh, one huge storm, able to clean up the rest of Sting's army. Sting in a lot of trouble at this point, really overextended on this engagement, not enough medevacs to heal up his units, and now he is going to have to retreat just with a couple of medevacs, and Ace is very far ahead at this point, with 2 Colossi coming out at once. He does have +2/2, and Sting trying to take a 4th as well, rebuilding his army as fast as he can, but he now has 8 High Templar in production with 2 Colossi. This could be great from Ace. Ace is going to be able to rebuild a really, really strong army. His 4th base is done as well. Sting is morphing an orbital command, not going to build a planetary at the 4th, so it could actually be hit and destroyed pretty easily by a couple of drops. Excuse me, and so we do have 2 observers out on the map, and it looks like Sting is going to try and move across the map and see if he can catch his opponent out of position and try and clean up the 4th, and it looks like Sting might just retreat here, doesn't want to overextend again. He knows he's a little bit ahead still. He did lose a lot of his advantage, only ahead by 15 army supply at this moment, so we'll have to see how he's going to try and re-engage this. He does have +2 armor finishing, and +3 is just about done. A couple more Ghosts are in production, so this is definitely going to help him taking out one of those observers, but ever clever Ace already has another observer on the south side of the map with the South Watchtower. Sorry, it's so confusing. I want to say East Watchtower, but for whatever reason, it's south or whatever you want to call it. Looks like the observer's moving again, but I mean, Sting's vision's really good. He might actually pick up this observer as well, maybe with an EMP, but it looks like Sting is actually going to move across the map, try to take out that fourth once again. But Ace being very creative with these High Templar on the high ground. I really like this play from him. He's actually going to get a solid storm off here as well, and it looks like Ace is might get a huge storm, actually doing a little bit of damage. Actually, the second storm not as good as the first one for sure. Now morphing an Archon, trying to avoid those snipes. And now, how high is the Colossi count? We're already up to 2. With how many Viking on the field? We do not have any. No +1 weapons for this Viking as well. So it looks like Sting's going to have to pull back at this moment. He knows, oh no, I have a lot of ghosts. I have 11 ghosts, which, having 20 ghost endgame PvT is not bad at all. But if you don't have any Viking to help clean up those Colossi, you're really going to get destroyed. Both of our opponents are now almost fully capped on supply. So let's take a look at Sting's natural. He is getting the extra 2 gas geysers at the moment, and we do have some zealots being warped in from the warp prism, actually from the back corner, and it looks like he's actually going to go after this base. Again, like I said, this is not a planetary, so he's going to have to pull his whole army out of position, and he's actually dragging 2 zealots down to the third as well. So these zealots actually could do a lot of damage with 2 stalkers in the high ground as well. Already up to 3 kills. With this +2 attack, they are able to clean this up quite easily. Almost 10 kills between the 2 of them, charging around, just cleaning up a ton of them, and it looks like a couple units are going to stim in and try and burn them down, but those zealots are just so strong, killing off one of the Marines, and now it looks like he ends up canceling one of the turrets. And this is exactly what Ace wanted. He got his opponent's army out of position so he could take the middle of the map, but it looks like he's grouped up quite well in the middle. Does he have enough Viking? No, I think he was building 3 at a time, so we're up to 5 already, and so +3/3 is just about to finish, so this may go to the very late game. We may see some pretty amazing stuff from our opponents here, and it looks like he's going to run up the ramp and clean up the rest of the Stalker, and this Stalker is in a lot of trouble right now, and so it is going to get taken out. Will he take out the second Stalker? More than likely, yes, and he will not be able to drop too much more because of these shuttles. Excuse me, it looks like Ace is taking his 5th base. We will see this map cut in half eventually. The shuttle War Prism is coming around once again, but both of our opponents are supply caps, so we'll have to see when they do want to engage us. It looks like he's sacrificing just a couple SCVs. He's got 47 actually, so transitioning to the late game, of course, Terran doesn't really need too many SCVs. They have enough orbitals with those ever-popular mules. He will be able to, still saturate his bases. He needs a couple of them for the gas, of course. And let's take a look at the army compositions just to see what these players would really want as a composition. Starting with Ace, we have 24 Zealots, 5 Archons. Of course, the Archons do absorb a lot of damage, do a great deal of AoE damage. We do have 3 Colossi, 6 Stalkers, 1 Warp Prism, of course, with the High Templar count at 8. He's not using the Warp Prism to micro the High Templar anymore because he knows his opponent has these Vikings out, and they do have +1, so if they did focus that down, losing 4 High Templar and a shuttle is huge. Going back to Sting's army, we do have 10 Viking, 29 Marauders in the late game. You don't see that very often from Terran, especially against Protoss anymore. 33 Marines and 13 Ghosts. Looks like he was able to clean up yet another observer, and an EMP does go down. Nice job getting that Archon morphed in time, but it looks like Ace might move up to the ramp to the natural, but he pulls back at the last second, being very indecisive, making me really confused at the moment. He's actually moving up into the natural, trying to take out some production facilities, and it looks like actually Sting might be able to catch his opponent out of position. Very spread out right now. The Zealots are on the high ground, the Colossi are pulling back, and at this point, is he going to sacrifice all these Zealots? It looks like yes, he might actually do that, just try to do as much damage as possible, and now Ace is going to retreat at this point, very confused, worrying that his opponent is going to switch and hit his 5th, and actually, yes, he does push on the 4th, with a handful of Zealots, and the Zealots are in the natural as well, doing a lot of damage, and now Ace coming back up again, lose a lot of supply on those Zealots, not sure if it was worth it. He did do quite a bit of damage. We can take a look at the worker supply, let's take a look at the workers killed. 47 from Ace. I'm not sure how long that's been going on. So we'll have to see how well that helps him out. He may have just wanted to get some free supply to get a couple extra units, getting out another Colossi, another shuttle. Does he have one on the map already? No, it looks like he... Actually, yes, he does have another one on the map. So he may end up still trying to do the Warp Prism play with the High Templar, which is very important. He does still have this hidden in the background. This has got to be driving Sting nuts at this point. He's trying to figure out where this Warp Prism's coming from, and when is Ace going to try and take another base? Are we going to see a Stargate? Are we going to see a Mothership? We'll have to see here in a minute. It looks like Sting is moving across the map at this point, going to try and take the Watchtowers, and his army is very, very scary. 15 Viking versus how many Colossi? 4? Those Colossi are not going to last long. +2 ship weapons just about to finish, and we do have a Dark Shrine coming down as well, so we will try and drop those at the 4th. He knows his opponent does not have any missile turrets down here, and it looks like these are idle at the moment, so actually Sting, this might be one of his last engagements, only with 1,100 minerals and 755 gas versus 1,000 minerals and 3,000 gas of his opponent. Here comes the first it's a snipe, and he's actually going to take out a lot of these units from Ace. Ace getting caught out of position a little bit, but here come the storms. If the storms are able to connect, they could do a lot of damage, but he isn't able to get the storms that he needs, and actually Ace getting cleaned up here pretty easily. Has a lot of Zealots down here, not really doing too much with them, and is he going to have the AoE that he needs? He has a couple couple of extra High Templar down here, but at this point, I mean, how many gateways does he have to warp in? It looks like he actually is getting pushed back a bit. These Viking are useless. He really, some solid snipes from from Sting, able to finish off a couple extra High Templar, but last time Sting did overextend like this, he did get cleaned up. His medevac count is still pretty low, actually moving up into the main, splitting his army, making sure that those storms don't do as much damage as they could, doing a great job of stimming and cleaning up a lot of these units, actually going down, focusing down the gateways, because he knows his opponent has the majority of his army coming out of those gateways, actually going to take down the natural and the main at the same time. Another stim, making these units so weak, it may still be enough to finish off Ace. If Ace could warp in anything of an army, he would be able to clean this up quite easily, losing all of his tech structures and his actual natural as well, dropping another scan, making sure there are no more reserves there, and it looks like Ace is going to go for one final push here, with just a couple of Archons and a couple of Zealots. Is he going to be able to clean this up? And the answer is no. Ace is going to get pushed out of his natural. He's actually going to get pushed way towards his opponent's base, and he is actually going to get cleaned up here, and this may be GG from Ace, but we do have a handful of Zealots coming from the main as well, a couple extra High Templar. Are there any ghosts left? I don't see any on the map, or in this army, and it looks like Ace might be able to clean this up. They are actually slowly catching up on supply, but it looks like it may be too much. Sting pushing into the third once again, trying to do as much damage as possible. They are very even on supply at the moment. If we take a look at the army supplies, it is a big difference, but I mean, again, we look at the supplies, they are quite even. If he is able to reproduce off these gateways, he could actually last this game, and Sting actually going to the fourth of his opponent, trying to clean that up, going to the third as well, trying to do as much damage as possible, going to the natural as well, just splitting up perfectly, trying to do as much damage as possible, trying not to let those High Templar build up enough energy to really do any storms, and it looks like he's actually going to push the main once again, trying to take out the rest of his army, and oh, here comes a lot of those probes are going to go down right here, just cleaning the rest of them up, and now we see the supplies getting much more even. And how many bases is Sting on? We did actually have a drop in the background, I apologize. It looks like he actually did clean up the fourth and the third, so he's actually doing a great job. If we take a look at the income right now, we actually have 600, so actually we have a higher income from Ace. Oh, the rest of his probes are going to get caught in the background. It looks like he's actually going to clean up the rest of these probes. His supply is going to spike down here. This is about 15 probes. Ooh, and it looks like Sting is up on supply right now. If we take a look at the probe count, 7 SCVs. Of course, with the late game Terran though, looks like we have a ton of Archons, the perfect composition at this point. He does not have those medevacs with enough energy to help regenerate enough health, and it looks like this might be the final battle. We do have 5 Archons on the field. Actually, 8. I was way off. We do have 8 Archons on the field, and 3 Zealots versus 19 Marauders, and those Marauders aren't able to do too much against the Archons. They are able to kite away a little bit. But it looks like he has begun mining from his fourth once again. I'm not sure why Ace is pushing out. He really could just pull back and just keep harassing with the Zealots like he's doing. These Marauders are trying to clean up the rest of this, and it looks like actually Sting doesn't know where his opponent's last few bases are. I mean, he has a general idea where they are, but he doesn't know how much he is mining and how many production facilities are here. And we have like 6 or 7 gateways here, and it looks like he's pushing up into the fourth once again. Here come the Archon from behind. He's going to try and do a pincer attack on this army, and it looks like, yes, he's actually going to be able to do so. The Archons are lining up, able to AoE down a lot of those units. Those Marauders are dropping very quickly. Money Force Field's able to trap the rest of those units. The medevacs do pick him up, but can he pick off the rest of those medevacs? No, there's a full medevac full of units just with orange health at this point, and Ace ahead on supply. It looks like Blink is going to come in hand here, able to pick off one of the medevacs. Only 1 medevac left, so he will not be able to retreat with the rest of that army. If he is able to blink underneath the last one, it looks like the medevacs might get away. The Archons are not going to be able to catch it at this point. Ooh, miss micro from Sting, almost losing the remainder of pretty much his army. We do have 10 Marauders on the field, 12 Marines, 3 medevacs, and 2 Ghosts. Excuse me, so Sting is actually starting to mine from his fourth once again. His third has been moved over here. He's just trying to wall off with it, I guess, at this point. This has been a very, very interesting game, going back and forth. I'm losing my voice at this point. And so we do have a huge army from Ace moving across the map. Take a look at the army supply. One last time, 57 to 50. How many Ghosts do we have on the field? Looks like 3 more were in production. We do have 2 more in production as well, so that's going to put him up to 5. And it looks like he's going to move into position, try and get a choke here. These charge lists are going to be really hard to deal with. It looks like he did get an EMP and snipe that Observer. Ooh, catching the chunk of Sting's army out of position. Able to clean up a couple of Ghosts. That's going to be huge. Those Archons are super beefy when there's no EMP around. And it looks like he's going to try and run up the ramp here. Stalker's getting warped in from behind, doing a lot of damage. And it looks like he actually blinks down the ramp. And it looks like this might be the final straw for Sting. Actually calling it early GG on my part. It looks like Ace does turn around, doesn't lose hope exactly when he needs to, and actually takes the game off Sting. Well played from both of these opponents. One of the best TVPs I've seen with the current meta. So overall, amazingly played. I am exhausted. I hope you enjoyed my casting. I am Jay Morrow. You can follow me on Twitter under @JMorrowPro and on YouTube under JMorrowPro as well. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in.